Greetings, my fellow freedom lovers and sovereign thinkers. This is LL3's newest podcast. My name is Craig. I'm podcasting along the beautiful swampy mangroves of South Florida. And today's date, March 9th, 2014. And of course, as you all know, daylight savings time. Whoopee-doo-dah. Well, today I'm going to be talking maybe a couple of or a few topics. And I will definitely put them on my Facebook page. And the first is from the website called allgov.com, excuse me. And I like the little slogan, everything our government really does. The first one here is titled, As Legal Marijuana Spreads, Will Big Business Muscle Out Small Providers? That's a very interesting question when you think about it. Because, you have to find out if it's going to be, if it becomes legal, will it be the mom and pops or the corporation will take over? Well, let's begin. In states where medical marijuana has been legal, pot has been sold by cooperatives and small businesses. But with the legalization of marijuana for recreational use in Colorado and Washington, can the corporatization of the marijuana business be far behind? The state of Washington is mulling regulations that would virtually eliminate cooperatives and dispensaries that are now giving advice with the marijuana they sell. Instead, they have to buy pot from a business where it's sold for recreational use. Medical users would be required to register with the state, but they exempt from the 25% tax on the drug. Harry Bricken, an attorney who works with medical marijuana businesses in Washington, told the New York Times that she is optimistic about her client's future. Prepare for the end, she said. Colorado, which also passed an initiative legalizing the sale of recreational marijuana last year, has handled the integration of dispensaries into pot business a bit differently. The existing dispensaries were put at the head of the line to get licenses to sell marijuana, according to the Times. Washington officials were concerned about the lack of regulation of dispensaries and wanted the business to get a fresh start in their state. The state failed to regulate, allowing doctors to write these prescriptions to 20-year-old gangbangers on the street who said, "Oh, I hurt my knee playing basketball," Carl Kike, a dispensary operator and founder of the American Medical Marijuana Association, told the Times. The ARC View Group, a network of cannabis businesses and investors, estimates the current national legal marijuana market, including medicinal and recreational, at $1.44 billion, a figure that is projected to rise to $2.14 billion next year and to soar to $10.2 billion over the next 5 years, according to Douglas Lighton, managing partner of Dutchess Capital, a New York investment firm. With that kind of money, it's natural that big businesses is going to be interested. Some businesses are getting jumped on the industry by bringing in experts in the field, Drug Enforcement Administration agents. The new suppliers hire these former law enforcement agents to help the business stay on the right side of state and federal law as the market for recreational marijuana expands. That was written by Steve Straley, and they have a few more links to learn about more on this topic. And I find this very, interesting. And I always tell people, yes, I do support legalization, and the states can do their own regulation on how it's done. I have to disagree with one area about in the state of Washington, medical users would be required to register with the state. Okay, for the whole exemption, so it has its pros and cons, privacy issues, just my honest opinion. And of course, other areas as well is when they had former DE agents, which that's interesting because they have a lot of knowledge and foresight on certain state and federal laws, which is understandable. I call it an insurance policy. And one thing I'll tell people, if big business gets in, or government gets involved, how the marijuana is going to be grown, organically or genetically modified. Something to think about. However, it's a good little story, good little article. And I'm going to hit another one from AllGov again. This one's entitled E-cigarettes makers lure young people by using other names for the product. And it's the same day too, okay? And same author, Steve Starhali. Hopefully I got that, pronounced that name right. What's in the name? Well, if you want to market a product to adults who smoke cigarettes, you might call it an e-cigarette. But if you want to sell the product to teens, you better call it a hookah pen or a vape pipe. Electronic cigarettes, which deliver nicotine and flavor for the users but don't produce smoke, are becoming increasingly popular, not only with smokers but with young people who often make no connection between what they call vaping and tobacco use. According to Matt Wichel of the New York Times, a survey by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention found that in 2012, 10% of high school students had tried e-cigarettes. However, many teens aren't aware that hookah pens and e-cigarettes are often the same thing. E-cigarettes have nicotine, and hookah pens just have water, vapor, and flavor. Andrew Hamilton, a senior from Drake High School in San Anselmo, California, told the Times. That's not always the case. Both devices use a fluid that contains flavor. With devices marketed as e-cigarettes, the fluids also contain nicotine. But the fluid used in hookah pens and vape pipes, which comes in flavors such as bubblegum and chocolate, often contain nicotine as well. The Florida Drug Administration, or FDA, currently regulates only e-cigarettes that market it for therapeutic purposes. But some municipalities are taking their own steps to restrict their use. The Los Angeles City Council voted this week to treat e-cigarettes as regular cigarettes whose use has been restricted in California since 1995. Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti is expected to sign the ordinance. New York and Chicago already have similar regulations in place. Excuse me. The Smoke-Free Alternatives Trade Association, which represents e-cigarette makers, opposes the new restrictions. We're opposed to such restrictions primarily because e-cigarettes don't contain tobacco and they don't emit smoke. Excuse me. Association Executive Director Cynthia Cabrera told Bloomberg News, these bans have the potential to stifle the growth of the category. As the FDA weighs whether to regulate e-cigarettes, manufacturers have been scrambling to urge legislators to oppose regulation of the product. L'Oreal Tobacco has spent millions of dollars lobbying on behalf of its blue e-cig brands when it purchased in April for $135 billion. The firm's lobbying teams include former House Speaker J. Dennis Hassert and several former members of Congress. Well, you know how I look at this. I don't smoke. It's going to be one of those interesting battles. And there's other links on here as well. I forgot to learn more. There's a few links on there to back up the story. And it's just, I don't know. I just not really crazy about the whole hookah pipe, vape stuff, etc. But a lot of people trying to quit smoking, and they want to use that as a one step to quit the habit. As far as I'm concerned, I tell everyone this: you're the temple of your own body. Be your own warlord. Get those Cafana cigarettes, put them on the ground, invest in a sledgehammer, and beat the living daylights out of them. Show them who's boss, man. That's how I look at it. I see people, I'll try to quit smoking, try to get a cigarette. You know what? Smash them. I'll take the initiative of letting you go a sledgehammer and smash the daylights out of them. Show them who's boss. And I know I'm digressing a little bit, but I do find the story funny. Now you can do more restrictions. And the truth of the matter is, all the kids out there, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not preferring not to smoke. Plus, do your own homework. Now you computer geeks and who are the other ones? Cell phone message board hacks and all those individuals. Tap it away. Do your little homework on it, man, and you get more broader input on what's happening over there with that whole e-cigarettes ordeal. Okay, well, I'm gonna try to hit another one here. This was from yesterday. And I found on InfoWars. It looks like Nanny Bloomberg's at it again. And it says here, this is from The Guardian. It happened yesterday. It was written by Stuart Dredge. Can the U.S. gun law be made to misfire through social media? 3 campaign groups tell SXSW how they are using social media to take the NRA and others. All right, I'm gonna read this. I'm gonna read this right now. Oops. Okay, good, perfect. Large it up a little bit. I can see, but get a more accurate narration. Cool. Yeah, there. All right. Gun control campaigners are making greater the use of social media to organize their supporters across the U.S. in effort to digitally disrupt better funded pro-gun lobby group like the NRA. 3 groups: Mayor Against Illegal Guns, Americans for Responsible Solutions, Moms Demands Action for Gun Sense in America, came together at the SXSW conference in Austin to discuss their digital strategies. The first 2 of those groups may have well-known figureheads, politicians Michael Bloomberg and Gabriel Giffords, respectively, but they are also working hard to spark grassroots online campaigns for supporters to press for changes to the state and federal gun laws. The problem here is there are more guns in the United States than there are people. This is not necessarily a problem in itself, but our laws are letting far too more than many of those guns fall into the wrong hands, said Glaze. Setting the scene for the group's digital efforts, Glaze pointed to the twin powers of the lobbying organization, the NRA, and the gun industry itself as reasons why politicians are fundamentally screwed up around gun control in the U.S. You can't get an issue that's 90-10 issue resolved in the right way, he said. One of MAIG's key demand for background checks to become standard for everyone buying a gun in the U.S. whenever they buy it from, including closing loopholes that enable people to buy firearms privately or online with no checks. The percentage of people who don't think you should get a background check is the same percentage of people who think Elvis is still alive, added Glaze. Come on. He added that when MAIG started, it discovered there was no grassroots organizations around campaign for gun control, in stark comparison to tens of millions of members of the NRA throughout the country. I like that. Tens of millions. Oh, how dramatic. Sorry about that. I think we're getting there because there's an out grassroots on the issue that's being run by very smart people doing this in the cutting edge ways, he said. Amber started working for Congresswoman Giffords 5 days before she was shot in the head in a surprise attack at a political event, but it was the mass shootings in Newton, Connecticut that spurred the creation of Americans Responsible Solutions, ARS. The first thing that we did as we put in an op-ed in USA Today, announced we were going to do, and we sent an email on some cheap digital letterhead to Gabby's campaign, less than 20,000 people, he said. We had no idea that integral the digital space was going to be our efforts. Amber says ARS is using digital technology in 4 ways to disrupt NRA and other elements of the gun lobby. First, with funding, it has raised more than $18.1 million to date, far more than 218,000 contributions, with more than half of this coming from people donating online in an amount of less than $200. Second, ARS is excited about measuring online interactions. Analytic Amber cited elections in Virginia, where the body carefully targeted its spending. Increasingly,